For the past 3 days, we've been trying to figure out how to leave this place. Thank God I finally have my boarding pass. Check it out, actually. I think it's the pride and joy of this airport. A piece of cardboard box wrapped in duct tape with an airline logo on top. I've got seat number 3, as you can tell. Jesus, I've never seen anything like this. My people, today I will show you why a population flees Venezuela and why police shoot rubber bullets at youth on the country's border. This tear gas is so strong that it even makes my skin burn.
Okay, this way.
The army here crush people with their tanks and disperse tear gas everywhere. Tensions are escalating here, and it gets worse by the minute. We meet gun-toting gangsters on bikes. The hardest part of my job is to understand when exactly they're going to kick the jollies out. We'll also investigate what protesters fire at police. Today they are using slingshots, shooting these glass balls at us. We'll investigate how people survive during a nationwide blackout, while doctors are forced to use torches while doing operations, whilst others buy expired meat because fridges don't work and take baths in gutters. Oh, and I'll fill you in on my next destination shortly, but first, smash the like button and subscribe this time. This is how the people live.
Guys, if you want to support my channel, I really appreciate it. Please download the game Raid Shadow Legends by following the link in the description. It is a great new game, which is available both on mobile and PC devices, and it's really cool. With 500 champions to collect, each with their own skill trees. No two champions will ever be the same. My favorite faction is Banner Lords. Just look at how epic they look, and the graphics are just mind-blowing. What's more epic is that I can equip my champions with different artifact sets and make them stronger. Typically I get them from the market or by winning the campaign battles. Raid just released a huge champion update, tweaking and rebalancing over 20 different champions to make PvP arena battles even more competitive. And if that's not enough, the Forge just came out, so now you can save time and start crafting top quality artifacts and competing right away. If you're a new player and if you use my link in the description, you get an awesome exclusive welcome pack that contains 50,000 silver, then 50,000 gems, 5 mystery shards, 1 energy refill, 1 day XP boost, which is just awesome I think, 1 clan bosque and a free champion shaman. Look at this. I would love to get this one. It's just how this champion looks. And you will find your extra rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. So if you use the link in the description, you will help me a lot. And now let's get back to that hotspot in Venezuela.
The part you see below the river is Colombia. And this is what the border used to look like when people flocked in thousands out of Venezuela. Of course, not all of these people were leaving forever, but still. This is what the same border looks like today, with barbed wire and an official ban on exit. This doesn't stop people from fleeing the country, as you just keep your balance and press on. Some don't even bother with safety. Others set up a proper crossing, although the river current is so strong that even advanced installations risk getting washed off. People take everything that has value, like this guy, carrying a stove for example. This other guy brought a toilet, while some carry their family bed, entrusting the headboard to a separate person. So then, how many people do you reckon fled Venezuela in the last couple of years? 15,000? 150,000? 1.5 million? Or 3.5 million? According to reports provided by the UN, by February 2019, almost 3.5 million people had fled the country. Taking into account that the current population is 32 million, that equates to 10% of the entire country. People flee to Argentina, one of the most developed countries in South America, Brazil, Chile, Ecuador, but most move to nearby Colombia. First because it's in the top 5 of the world's richest countries, plus it's right next door, and its border isn't packed with army patrol units. The biggest difficulty lies in getting to the border. It makes for a very dangerous trip for a foreigner. Hence we took an hour flight to the nearby city, and then drove for 3 hours to get to the border. The closer we got to the border, the more army we saw. There isn't so much of it at the border, but on the way to it, with a checkpoint every 10 to 15 kilometers. The problem is, that's precisely where we were during the times of maximum instability, as Maduro turned into the most hated individual in the country. Whilst protesters burn police cars and tyres, the army blocked the street and tries to disperse opposition gatherings, so they don't form one massive controlled crowd. Here is an example of it. We're in a taxi and the road gets suddenly blocked by the army. Locals get furious. That adds to general hate towards Maduro's army. I step out of the car, get my phone out, and then... A soldier didn't like that I was filming him, so he decided to take my phone off me. I started to fight back, but then tear gas happened. Oh crap. Our cameraman picks up his bag and gets out of the car, as tear gas can only mean that in 15 seconds we'll temporarily go blind and be unable to breathe, while the police go at you with clubs. So the best thing to do is to just duck and cover, find a ravine, and quite simply hope for the best. Time to continue to the border. Police has blocked the 10-kilometer area around the border for cars, and basically we had to ask these guys to take us closer to the border. The city streets are absolutely packed with the army and police, preparing to fight back the opposition.
Venezuela gangsta music.
If you happen to find yourself on the bus with army members of Maduro's ministers, get used to people throwing stones at you. Here are 3 burned buses that used to carry around musicians that performed at a concert arranged to support Maduro's regime. Windows were shattered, whilst everything that could be sold was ripped out and stolen. So here's the thing. If you travel like a standard citizen, it's the army that won't let you anywhere. But the masked biker gangs called colectivos are even worse, since they can kill you on the spot, without even bothering to figure out who you are. We came across them right near the border, 4 bikes and 2 gunmen on each, patiently waiting for their ringleader to show up. In comes the ringleader in a red shirt, and the whole group starts going at the police. Something's gonna happen now, right? Not really. They just silently let them through. And one of the gang members even raises his hand to say hello. See that gun that the ringleader is carrying? I can assure you it's the most harmless part of his arsenal. Oh, and one of the bikers even has a pass that is usually distributed amongst government employees, as I've later been told. Once confrontations with opposition became unbearable for the army to handle, they call in the gangs, and gangs never mess about. This here is what a typical skirmish without guns looks like. It's impossible to sum up the tension on this border right now between Venezuela and Colombia. Protesters literally try to break their way through the bridge that connects the 2 countries. The wind pushes the tear gas back towards the cops. Gas is so strong that it feels like my skin is burning.
Okay, this way. Okay.
The situation is tense, guys. It's especially tense at the cities and the towns right near the border. Oh god, it's like never-ending mayhem. Army mainly uses smoke grenade machine guns, and boy do they use them often. This guy just brought a new bag with supplies. Plus they also use guns with rubber bullets. This is what to expect if they get you, and I remember getting shot with such bullets in France once. It got me in the helmet, but it did seem like a brick fell on my head. Once the supplies are out, policemen don't mind throwing a bunch of stones to retaliate. As for the youth, they're equipped with shields, and hide everywhere they could possibly fit. They even nick some granny's chair by the looks of things. Some make makeshift ladders to get up onto the bridge, while CCTV cameras are always the top priority for dismantling, so the police do not find out who they are. Ammunition the protesters have access to are stones and Molotov cocktails that are made of fuel and... let's not go into that though, we don't want to get blocked. Still, Molotovs aren't the biggest problem, since you can dodge them. Slingshots are the real pain. As for bullets, they use glass balls like this one here, that leave little holes in the policemen's helmets. That's not the end of it though. Locals had adapted these slingshots into trebuchets to fire missiles at the police. Given the state of the economy, gas masks can be considered as a luxury item. Hence, protesters make them out of plastic bottles and cotton wool. Ingenious. Army is often supported by armoured vehicles with rotating towers, and they are pretty much lethal, driving right into the crowd, shooting rubber bullets and running people over left, right and centre. This was filmed a month after we left the place. This whole warlike situation began when the country acquired a second president who aimed to unite the opposition. Let's quickly delve into what happened there. In January 2019, an opposition leader, Juan Guaido, proclaimed himself as the new president. Back at the time, he served as parliamentary chairman, and his presidency was approved by over 50 countries across the world, including Donald Trump. So technically speaking, for the last 6 months, Venezuela is ruled by 2 presidents, whilst the latter candidate becomes the reason for the mayhem at Colombia's borders. He decided that the country needed humanitarian help that was offered by the US, and brought trucks with supplies to the aforementioned border. Maduro, on the other hand, said that it will only happen over his dead body, and blocked all 3 bridges that link the countries. I'm now in Venezuela, but right at the border with Colombia, which you can see across the bridge roughly a kilometre away. It is clear that Venezuela has done all the work in an attempt to block the bridges. It really is something. Here you see the metal gates at the front, concrete bollards behind me, and there's this huge iron fence. You can see it welded to the metal right here. And it's all done to stop people getting in from the Colombian side, to stop any humanitarian aid getting through, essentially. Which is considered by Venezuelan officials as being interference in national affairs. Oh, and just in case anyone tries to get round the bridge, they've dug this massive trench to stop anyone getting through. The break is eventually started via other 2 bridges and ended up with the trucks being burned down to the metal, followed by information that local police carry responsibility for this. Honorary People's Correspondent from Venezuela. At least 3 people were found dead, topped by a minimum of 300 casualties, marking the beginning of violent clashes. See this burning truck? It's a result of what Molotov boys do. And right now, police are trying to advance their position along the bridge to push opposition further out. Check this out. The Molotov cocktail remains are still here. That's what they look like. It's the tops that you light up before throwing the bottle. And here is the result, the skeleton of a burnt out truck. Quite an intimidating sight, I must say. I've never seen anything like it. It's probably why it has such an effect on me. Third Bridge is named after Simón Bolívar, and until recently it served as the most popular way of crossing into Colombia. This is what that same bridge used to look like on a normal day. But then cars were banned from it, followed by people also, which made them enraged, since most of them work in nearby Colombian city of Cúcuta, and closed borders meant that they either lose their jobs or have to cross the border illegally on a daily basis. Try to guess what these cars are queuing for. To cross the border, to get MOT, refuel, or for a service. They are here for fuel. Because what locals like to do here is to take rock-bottom cheap fuel from Venezuela to Colombia and sell it there. You basically fuel up your car, drive it over the bridge, and drain the fuel out once you find a buyer, leaving some in the tank for a return trip. Price-wise, you buy it for $0.01 per litre and sell it for 53 cents, which is 530 times more expensive. Of course, locals sell their fuel slightly cheaper than that, but still, a tank of fuel means roughly $26.50 in profit. We're back on the bridge again, and it's practically covered with large stones that were thrown at the army and police. They are just everywhere here. The army doesn't really have any specialised equipment, hence they use standard PVC boards and metal boxes as shields. Like the one that was just thrown down to the river. See, it's right there. Quite intense, I must say. And it's primarily intense because you never know what sudden aggression may lead to. It's one of the toughest parts of my job, really, to clearly identify when you're about to get the shit kicked out of you. On the day when the trucks got to the border, it was only 100 meters that separated the army from the opposition. The socialists that support Maduro, yep, such people exist, and it's mainly the poor layer of the population that is happy to sometimes get something for free. Free taxi rides, bags with groceries, and relocation from favelas to the city. When Maduro asks them at gatherings whether they want to pay for electricity, like in the rest of the world, they of course scream no, better than any professional choir. This is why we cannot let the Americans in, he says, because they always come with their bloody capitalism. Hence the people who support Maduro are not just extras, but it's a crowd that is ready to fight for him. They sharpen their wooden sticks, arrange stones by size, and wait for opposition that is held back by police 200 meters away. At first they may come across as a shy bunch, but once reinforcements arrive on more buses, they are literally ready to tear the place apart.
На данный момент люди еще не понимают, что произошло.
No one really knows what has just happened, but the whole city is now submersed into darkness. It's a city-wide power cut, and as you can see, it's only cars' headlights that light up the street from now on. This specific power cut turned out to be nationwide, affecting 22 out of 23 states of the country. This is what it looked like from space, and you can see that by comparison, Colombia glowing like a Christmas tree. Needless to say, but mobile phone networks disappeared along with electricity, and it took us 3 days to finally get back in touch with Nikolai, our friend from my previous video. By the way, the person you see in the mirror is the driver, not Nikolai, so don't worry about him. He didn't get compromised. The worst thing about the power cut is that it affects hospitals, making doctors light up the operation tables with their mobile phones and manually ventilate incubators for newborns. Unfortunately, the doctors couldn't save this woman's child.
Doctor told me that they're off since there is no electricity and I have to go to another hospital to get my kid checked up. She first had stomach cramps, then started to vomit.
Another treatment that became impossible to execute is dialysis. It's when your kidneys fail, and your body must regularly be cleaned from scorifying and salts. Reserve generators are obviously non-existent, and hence this treatment, along with many others, stopped existing. Surprisingly though, some malls somehow still had electricity, but this next place had simply put me in awe. Welcome to the office of the government-owned, extremely rich oil company, whose generators supply power to the building, even during the bloody day, at the time when the whole country is cut out. I mean, why on earth don't you share it with hospitals? No electricity naturally means no phone calls. First of all, because you can't charge your mobile. This guy here used to laminate documents prior to today, but he quickly understood that no one needs that anymore. So instead, he realized people need to have their phones charged. And this is why he's now running a generator with 9 sockets, ready to charge you up and get connected to the world. Ridiculous.
It costs 500 bolivars, but what else can we do about it?
Just so you don't go off for a calculator, that's around about 10 cents. And here is a woman who organised it all. She covered our camera so we don't film her, so we obviously won't.
We cannot get in touch with our relatives and have no idea what's happening in this country. We have zero information basically.
Power cut lasted for 20 hours straight. Then the supply returned for an hour, got cut off again. That's when looting began. This, for example, has been filmed in the town of Maracaibo. Here we see women picking sausages up. And yes, power cut also means that all meat started to rot too. Associated Press spoke to a father of 3 about this, and this is what he said. It doesn't smell nice, but it becomes bearable once you wash it with lemon and vinegar. Traffic lights obviously don't work either. See this intersection? All traffic lights are off, and that includes the pedestrian ones too. I must say that the situation on the streets is quite tense, especially during the evenings. Plus, we heard shots fired through the entire night. Night confrontations with the police are absolutely insane, as officials run around like ninjas looking for protesters, who in turn throw Molotovs from the balconies, setting fire to police cars and general transport. It's basically a fully fledged street fight within the city boundaries. Along with power cut, water supply stopped too, since water pumps run on electricity. Hence people risk their lives going down steep slopes to get drinking water from a river that is far from being clean. There is just no other place to get it from. Need to shower? That's what the city's water drain system is for. Why did you get in there? Yeah, we've got no water, no electricity. And there are no water trucks? What water trucks? Due to the power cut, small towns became practically unlivable, as we spent ages strolling across the whole city in search of a place that would sell us food for dollars or would at least accept a credit card. Resultantly, we got food poisoning at a lovely local cafe, then spent the whole day at the hotel recovering, and finally switched to bananas because we simply could go for no other food. Bananas for breakfast, lunch and dinner. This is when we decided to fly to Caracas. But turned out it's not as easy as it may sound. There were no flights, no buses. Think we could have rented a car. Well, try explaining to a local what a rent-a-car is.
Bloody hell, guys. It's such a mission to fly from one city to another here. And I don't even mean flying abroad. You can't buy a ticket online because there is no freaking online. For the past 3 days, we've been trying to figure out how to leave this place. And then it's only really thanks to the help of a local woman that we managed to sort anything out. I mean, here's how it works. They open a software that looks like a game called Doom 2 from 1994. You type in your details, and then you show up to the airport no later than 4 hours before your flight, as otherwise your booking will be cancelled. And once you're here, the fun really begins, especially if you're a foreigner. They obviously don't accept international cards, and don't be fooled by thinking that they accept local cards or debit cards either. Oh no, you can pay with a local credit card. Yeah, freaking fantastic. So this is what happens next. Oh, and they don't accept US dollars either. Thank God the woman that is helping us sorted things out, and there is no way this could have worked back at home. So, one of us has a luggage case that they will keep as a guarantee of payment, and once we land in Caracas and pay there, that's when they'll give us our luggage back. Anyway, thank God I finally have my boarding pass. Check it out actually, I think it's the pride and joy of this airport. A piece of cardboard box wrapped in duct tape, with an airline logo on top. I've got seat number 3, as you can tell. Jesus, I've never seen anything like this.
Mamá, lo que ahora soy yo, yeah. A mí nunca me ayudaron, casi todo el mundo me subestimó, yeah. Llaman porque ahora soy yo, critican porque ahora soy yo, yeah. Respeto a mis hermanitos que siempre tuvieron, bendícelos Dios. Lléguense que ahora soy yo, llaman y pidan que ahora soy yo.
Upon our return, Caracas seemed like New York to us, but water shortages hit in the same way it did the rest of the country. Food quickly became extinct too, even in the most expensive hotel in the city. It had a maximum of 10 guests, news reporters of course, all checked into specific rooms by the way, that are apparently wiretapped. I, on the other hand, never hid my thoughts on the country whilst being in the room, so either their wiretapping is typically broken, or they're simply super tolerant and open-minded people.
Пожрать вечером в Венесуэле невозможно.
It is impossible to get any food in the evenings. I'm talking about the first couple of days. All restaurants close by 7 p.m, and that includes the one in our hotel, the most expensive hotel in the whole city. As for room service, a simple soup will set you back by $20, and that's why we opened up our canned pasta. This is now caringly being warmed up on a hairdryer.
Delicious. It looks like a brick.
Here is what a pharmacy looked like during these first days. I've counted 5 types of medication, proudly positioned across a whole width of the shelves. It's actually the most popular way of product placement here, as this way it may not seem that there is any shortage. If you come here without any pills and get ill, there is no other way to describe it apart from you're fucked. Local Russians, for example, always bring loads of medicine with them when they return from abroad, as it is the only way to make sure that you won't die.
Это главная пешеходная улица.
We made our way to the main promenade street in Caracas, and it is in full lockdown. Even KFC is shut, whilst employees hang about outside, as there is nothing much they can do.
Free service.
Fridges and coolers don't work. Cards can't be used either.
Купить вообще что бы то ни было сейчас практически нельзя, если у
It
тебя...
is impossible to buy anything if you don't have the local currency, in cash state of course, because cards require electricity to be processed. No one for some reason can exchange dollars. Cash machines obviously don't work either. Let me show you one actually. This one here looks like it never really worked at all, but the one next to it was definitely operational once. We then found a shop that had electricity, solely because the owner had a generator, but this still doesn't mean that he can accept cards, as banks are clearly not as well prepared as he is. Guess who controls all the banks in the country, by the way? And no, there won't be a multiple answer options. The reason for the power cut is the failure at the power station, and surprisingly, this huge country with a population of 32 million is serviced by just one power plant. It caught fire. Maduro officially stated that it was a cyber attack arranged by guess who? Correct. Guaido, on the other hand, blamed it all on corruption, since the Chavez regime invested $100 million into the infrastructure. These power cuts lasted for over a month, and due to the continuous protests and clashes, 43 people died. Confrontations were happening every week, and every week the backlash only got stronger. Imagine if you'd just finished school, right? Why go to university when there are no jobs? Government jobs mean bribes. There is also mining, or you can join a gang, for example. I mean, there are even no IT programmers here who can secure the power plant from cyber attacks. As a result, everyone either joins a gang or the regime, because there is no other way to earn. The most unusual place where locals flee to is an island that belongs to the Netherlands, situated 80 kilometers away. I know, I was shocked too. I mean, what on earth is in common between Venezuela and Amsterdam, right? People here talk in Dutch and a local dialect. And as for human rights, it's not as straightforward as in the Netherlands, but not as critical as in Venezuela either. Although residency permit applications are not accepted here, refugees still show up packed up on fishing boats. The trips arranged by the gangs from Venezuela take 7 hours.
Eso es un trabajo allá prácticamente para esa gente.
Traer gente para Curazao. ¿Cuánto te cobraba?
$200.
Due to quite strict patrolling, the best site for docking is on the northern part of the island, which means that you must first cover 80 kilometers and then go around the whole island.
And this is the most dangerous place of the island for boats to come, but this is the only way for them to avoid to be catched by the police. This is where they have to climb here. You can imagine at night without light, without anything. There is no beach, there is no way to go up, so they have to just go with the rock. You can see they are so high. The wind is hard. This can cut your body. We are talking about between 2 and 3 boats by week. They are boats with capacity for 20 people, but they bring 35, 40, meaning twice or even more.
Unlike many, this woman actually managed to get safely to the island.
We were sailing when a wave hit us and the boat began to sink. We all jumped. We were in the water for 4 hours. It was horrible. Imagine there was an 18-year-old girl who died that night. She grabbed me and I had to push her away.
Women who cannot pay the traffickers are often ordered to pay working as prostitutes, which is a standard scheme for luring people into sex slavery.
I had to pay a $400 fine when I got here.
You mean fee, right?
Yes, it is a fee we have to pay. No one really made us to do this, but it's the way they arranged it all that we had no other option but complying.
I've never seen anything like this, guys. We're in a massive international airport that has simultaneous flights to various countries across the world, and there is also no electricity supply here. There are a bunch of lights that work off generators, but the main building is in total darkness. Nothing works here. They can't check you in, nor can they take your luggage. Nothing works. This huge queue must be 500 meters long, serviced by one single customs employee, who manually cross-checks each passport with a long list of passengers that he has printed out.
It is absolutely unreal.
We have an hour and a half left until takeoff, and it takes them at least 10 minutes to process each person. Here is how everything works. An airline rep shouts out the passenger's surname, whilst everyone in the queue repeats it. To locate the right passenger in the massive line, travellers then proceed to the registration desk, where their boarding pass and luggage ticket is filled in by hand by the rep. Back then, I still was in full hope that my luggage wouldn't be lost. This place feels like a sauna, to be honest with you, as there is no air conditioning or ventilation going on, and everyone is sweating like crazy. It feels like all hell will break loose in a second, since some are queuing for over 20 hours already. Hand luggage is checked in by hand, but no one really delves into it, as for example only front pockets of my bag were checked thoroughly. As you can imagine, one doesn't have to be an escape art genius to pull off a terrorist attack up in there. Customs weren't much different, as all computer systems are down. They have no way of doing a background check on you, so they simply ask you a bunch of questions and send you off. Oh, and duty-free zone was straight out of I Am Legend. The only working spot at the airport turned out to be this bar, that followed the same product placement strategy as we saw in the capital. Luckily for us, we had crackers that our cameraman managed to save up. Best way to survive in Venezuela is to bring your own food with you. After a quick walk down some broken escalators, 5 hours later we boarded our plane and took off to make an unplanned stopover in the Dominican Republic, because obviously the plane couldn't be loaded with water, food and everything else. As for my luggage, it started its new life back in Caracas. Wish me luck and subscribe for God's sake.
Heard this shit.
A mí nunca me ayudaron, casi todo el mundo me subestimó. Mamen lo que ahora soy yo, critican lo que ahora soy yo. Respeto a mis hermanitos que siempre estuvieron, bendícelos Dios. Lléguense que ahora soy yo, llamen y pidan que ahora soy yo. Tú te quisiste verte una conmigo, que no te gustaba que fuéramos amigos, que en el fondo yo sabía que si real no había, tú no follarías y fracasarías por más que era súper sexy. Yo no era ningún